January 2023 meeting of the Public Safety Committee to order. Motion to approve last month's minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, privilege of the floor. Is there anyone here for privilege of the floor?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Karen Engstrom, Town of Chautauqua, Village of Mayville. I'm here to update you on solar. We have solar in our county, and what I want to point out today is that the Amish are being threatened by the large solar arrays that are projected here. Our neighbor Amish are vital to both the economy and the character of this region. Attached to the cover is a letter from the Amish to the Town Board of Chautauqua. I will read that letter. We, as an Amish community in Mayville, DeWittville, Stockton area, desire our farmland to be preserved for our future generations, for our children, for our grandchildren. And we oppose solar panels in our area. No farms, no food. If you will look, there are 3 pages of signatures. Well over 80 Amish families. If you look at these pages here, there are 80 signatures. The Amish are very concerned because their farmland is agricultural. And according to the NYSERDA, according to the Chautauqua County Farm Bureau, 84% of the land targeted to put solar panels in our community is agricultural. The Amish do not own all their land, they rent it. And when this land is offered up as to an owner, an absentee owner, at twice as much money, 3 times as much money, 4 times as much money, that owner. Hello?
Is it somebody on Zoom? Mr. Mankowski? Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead.
NYSERDA states that solar in this region produces 14% of the electricity claimed by the developers. How can we allow agricultural land to be destroyed for 14% of what is claimed to be? Now, another farm, as you will see in the piece of paper attached at the back, in jeopardy as a result of utility-scale solar is the Midnight Dairy Farm in Fluvanna, which was featured in yesterday's Post-Journal under the title, "Dairy Farm May Be Impacted by Solar Farm." This is one of many such farms in our region that will be impacted if we don't do something. Now, large-scale solar is not consistent with the comprehensive plan, and the goal of which is to protect the rural character of our county. The IDA of Cattaraugus County has imposed a moratorium on utility-scale solar, and I quote them. The reason they have done this is because, quote, "there is no economic return. Solar and wind do not accomplish the main IDA criteria to create and retain local jobs. Cattaraugus County has also determined that industrial solar can only be built on brownfields." Now, I've addressed PFAS before. Mayville, my town, has been subject to the issue because it was a contamination of their water 2 years ago, and they've spent millions of dollars and endangered many lives. We want to point out that they have put into their special use permit for solar that the developer must prove that there is no PFAS in solar components. Now, that can be done by any legislative body. It is a protective tool that will keep us from having to mitigate this in the event that, as we know from the Post-Journal, it's in our Chattacoin River right now. It's across the nation. You see it in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times. We don't know where it all comes from, but we do know that it is contained in solar panels and that we can prevent this from happening here. There is also a lawsuit that's been filed by 11 entities, including 5 towns, which states that the new Office of Renewable Energy Siting, which is a fast-tracking regulation process, violates the secret statutes to protect the environment, and that there is a major conflict of interest because the person who wrote the ORES regulations is the very lawyer who represents the solar and wind developers. So we see in Ripley the 523 acres of additional mature forest that are to be cleared. The siting board of the state rejected that and said, forest removal mitigation that you've proposed is inadequate. But that does not, and so there is an attempt to do a forest preservation easement, which will not change the fact that 523 additional forested acres will be cleared. Farmers are not compatible with solar because their animals, their livestock will be harmed by any of the machinery, any of the change in the soil distribution based on construction, large scale like that. The movement of soil allows for runoff that goes into the streams that provides drinking water for the animals. And any animal that of the ruminant variation that is exposed to small wires, little screws, pieces of aluminum, anything like that, that goes into their rumen, and then it migrates to their heart and kills them. So farmers are very careful about the environment that their cattle, their cows, their dairy cows, and their beef cattle. So there are a number of things this group can do, and I want to remind this group that the legislature that I wonder who they'll blame when this all comes out and when these things do start to happen. You are in charge of this county. It is not the IDA. I have several proposals on there, and I hope I'll be back.
Karen, thank you. This is an issue that you're pretty interested in, and thank you for bringing this to our attention. We will read this, and I'm sure you will be back. Thank you. Okay, privilege of the floor. Is there anyone else for privilege of the floor? Okay, if not, proposed resolution number 1, amend 2023 budget to implement the SWAT Team Bearcat project within the Chautauqua County American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA spending plan. Thanks, Rich.
Morning, Mr. Weevil.
Afternoon.
Or afternoon.
It's a long day, huh?
That it has been. Rich Telford, Chautauqua County Undersheriff. The first resolution in front of you is a SWAT Team Bearcat project request through the ARPA funding. Just a little history, our current vehicle is a 1978 International Armored Vehicle that was a military surplus purchase. I attempted to find out when we bought that vehicle, and currently nobody in our office remembers. It's far exceeded its usefulness. It's getting to the point between rust and mechanical breakdowns, electrical breakdowns. It's time to look for a replacement. The initial proposal in front of you was for an estimated $305,000, but Mr. Neville, in talking with the county executive, I would ask at this point, if possible, to adjust this proposal to a cap of no more than $400,000. A couple things have come up recently where we would like to explore our options and get another couple quotes, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, committee, questions of Rich on this resolution? Go ahead, Sean. You always have a question.
Just is that enough now, or, you sure that you can keep it under that?
We believe so. There's a couple different options. Number one would be a new build out, but we are probably looking at least a 12-month turnaround if it's a brand new build. So what we would like to do is look at our options for a used vehicle, which maybe has a little bit more bells and whistles than we would ask for new. And we just want to keep our options open and get a couple estimates on used vehicles. I did fail to mention that these Bearcats, if you're unfamiliar with them, I believe Erie County has several vehicles. If you go to the Bills game, they're usually parked out on Abbott Road. They can be used off-road. That is one feature that we are gonna look at, being a rural county. They advertise getting around better in snow and flooding conditions, and I just read the quote, up to 40 inches of water. I don't know if I wanna be the one driving it to test it, but that is what's advertised with the vehicle that we initially spec'd out. But again, we just wanna keep our options open, possibly get a used one a little bit sooner.
Marty or Tom, do you have any
Yeah.
questions of Rich?
The initial new one, you spec'd it out at that 305,000.
That is correct, yes.
But because these used might have a lot more
Bells and whistles, yep.
that they might be more, and I understand the used market now is a little skewed because you can't get new,
Correct.
in a timely fashion, and we need this vehicle sooner than later.
I would say yes. It was about 3 weeks ago, after a SWAT raid with our drug task force, that they do those early morning hours when I'm sleeping, but when I got to the office, it was parked at our radio shop, and it's because they had electrical issues, and we limped it back here, just so our guys could, piece it together to keep it running.
Yeah. It's not something that you want to break down in the middle.
Yeah.
That is true, yes.
Yeah, I had a question, and I'm new to the committee, so you may have talked about this already, but
Okay.
how often do we use, do you have any figures on how often this vehicle is used?
Lately, it has been used, it kind of goes in waves. Any SWAT call out, so any high tense situation, somebody threatening themselves, a barricaded subject, when we activate the SWAT team. More so, typically it's with high-risk drug search warrants, and lately those have been on the rise. We've probably been averaging, I'd say 2 to 3 a month over the last 6 months. Mr. Schmidt's in the back, we try to keep him busy.
Good job.
Yeah. So lately, they have been on the rise. And again, there are lulls and there are increases. Is it a daily thing? It is not. But when I got information on this earlier this week, one of the guys brought up the flooding in Venus Point and Shore Acres 2 years ago, 3 years ago that we had. And they use that as an example that it doesn't have to necessarily always be for a SWAT call out, but could be to get into areas like there where it's flooding or blizzard-like conditions.
Search and rescue.
Search and
Yeah.
rescue, and again, the specs for this particular one will be for off-roading, not, and again, just because of our rural area, that if we have to go off-road or onto trails or farmland, that's what we're looking for.
Will our officers need additional training to operate it, or to know all of its bells and whistles and
I
functions?
don't believe I don't believe it falls under a CDL or anything along that lines. And again, depending on the bells and whistles, maybe, but in all honesty, we wanna cap it. We're not New York City, we're not Los Angeles, we don't need, periscopes and things like that. We wanna keep it within reason. And part of that too is so that the officers on the SWAT team don't need a lot of extra practice in its operation.
And these used units, sometimes when you say used, you're, used cars versus new cars, they're not used that much.
Correct.
I mean, what's on the market, and obviously you would take into consideration hours, miles, or however you judge.
Yeah,
used.
they're not used day to day for patrolling. Again, a used vehicle, you might have 30, 40,000 miles on it. My guess is a used one of these is maybe has 3,000 or 4,000 miles on it, or how many hours of, engine runtime. But, you know, and here again, the used market and the availability of a used one is probably driving up that cost.
Well, yeah, and that's across the board.
Yes.
In my business it is.
Yep.
Okay. Bob Bankowski, a member of this committee, is on Zoom with us. Bob, do you have any questions of Rich on this resolution?
I do not. Seems like he's got all his ducks in a row.
Okay. All right, so Rich, you think 400,000 would be more appropriate as far as this resolution?
We believe so, and that obviously would be a cap, in every effort to come in below that.
Okay, so we would be increasing the appropriation account to 400,000.
That is correct.
And also, what about the revenue? Also 400,000?
That would also, correct, that would also be increased to 400,000.
Are these ARPA funds that we were?
They would be ARPA funds. What I consider second round of ARPA funds, I don't know if there's a
So,
different term.
Yeah, we had asked him, public facilities about you know, how that second round, was, established, because, we were gonna get a list of the new funding and didn't,
You still can't.
that's gonna come on Thursday, right?
Correct,
On
yes.
Thursday, so, okay. And there's no other source of, this wasn't a planned purchase, I mean, we didn't save, since 1978 to replace this
Yeah,
vehicle?
unfortunately, we haven't. So no, you know, and it's one of those that always kind of, I shouldn't say always, in the last several years, kind of been on, you know, pie in the sky. Well, someday, you know, we need to replace that. We'd like to replace that. And with the ARPA funding available, that we thought this would be a good time to make this request.
Kathleen, any concerns as far as budget?
No, we have identified a number of projects in the first round of the ARPA spending plan that are not going to be implemented. So I am confident that we have at least $400,000 available.
Okay, we might hold you to that. Okay, thanks, Kathleen. All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to amend this resolution to increase the appropriation account to 400,000 and also increase the revenue account by the same amount to 400,000.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion is amended. Okay, the motion as amended, is there a motion to accept the amended motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, all right, next we have, okay, proposed resolution number 2, authorize execution of New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee grant for the Police Traffic Safety Services Program fiscal year 2023.
This is a recurring grant that we receive from New York State, typically or otherwise known as Buckle Up New York. This grant amount in the amount of $22,700 allows to assign officers to do extra patrols during the week of Buckle Up New York, enforce not only seatbelt tickets but speeding or aggressive drivers. So it's a recurring grant that we've gotten several years running, and between now and September 30th, it would be in the amount of $22,700.
Okay, committee questions? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, proposed resolution fiscal year 2022, State Homeland Security Program, SHSP. Thanks, Rich. Okay, Nolan, Bonnie. For the folks at home.
Good afternoon, Bonnie Peters, Emergency Services.
Noel Gutman, Director of Emergency Services.
Okay, go ahead, folks.
Just before we get to mine, real quick, I'd just like to put our office's support behind the Undersheriff's Bearcat project.
Okay,
Just,
All right.
they approved in the last, the snowstorms up in Erie County, Genesee County, those type of vehicles are what were affecting a lot of the rescues of people. Really proved as a very valuable asset, you know, and our office would strongly support that project going as well.
Sounds good. Thanks, Noel.
First resolution's for the SHSP grant program. That's a grant we get every year. It goes to support operations in our office and in the sheriff's office.
And when I did that, resolution, I erred in my dates on that one. So I did give to Olivia, and I believe that she gave everyone the updated. So the, term of the grant is September 1 of 2022 through August 31 of 2025. I had two sets of dates on the original one, but it is, September 1 of 22 through August 31 of 2025.
A 3-year grant, Bonnie, basically, right? 3 years?
3 years, yeah.
Okay. All right. Committee, questions of Bonnie or Noel on this one? Relatively simple.
Yeah.
Okay, those in favor? Yes.
Typo?
Oh,
I'll motion
Okay.
to amend it.
because
Okay.
one whereas? Yeah, okay.
I'll motion to
Second.
amend.
On the motion,
Oh,
To amend?
okay, yes, okay,
I had to remove that one whereas.
okay. The third whereas, your motion is to delete the third whereas?
Yeah, well, or to substitute this one that we got on our desk.
Okay. Okay,
Which
yeah, let's
deletes
do,
that
let's
third.
do that, let's substitute this. Okay, is there a second to amend this?
Yes.
Second.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, the resolution as amended. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, thanks, guys.
Not getting rid of us that easy. We'll
Okay.
bear with you for a couple more.
Number 4, fiscal year 2020 hazardous materials grant program, fiscal year 20 HMGP.
This is a non-competitive grant program administered to New York State Department of Homeland Security Emergency Services, where our hazmat team is the lead agency and partners with Cattaraugus and Allegheny counties and Seneca Nation of Indians to provide equipment and training for the joint hazmat teams. And this grant's in the amount of $90,700.
Noel, have we had something, we've had something
We
similar
get-
in the past?
There are several
right?
hazmat grants every year.
Okay.
This is a, like I said, a non-competitive grant. I believe this is a no local share grant as well. And it's used primarily for equipment and training to support the team and team operations. And it's pretty much an every year grant, being that we're originally established team in the state. That's, you know, you pretty much get this grant by submitting for it each year. And the dollar figure is determined by the state each year, so that dollar figure changes each year, but it's a grant we get every year.
Okay. Committee questions on this one? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, next, amend 2023 budget to increase funding for the Emergency Services EMS Gear Project within the Chautauqua County American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA spending plan.
So essentially, this ARPA project was to purchase some additional cardiac defibrillator, EKG monitoring devices and CPR chest compression devices. We're asking for some additional funding on that to be able to provide the additional services that go along with that, the service contracts and some additional supplies to keep those in operational standards so they're, readily deployable.
Okay, committee, any questions on this one?
Nolan, Bonnie, I do have a question, just based on your explanation. The additional expenditures, are they going to be equipment, or are they gonna be the service
I
contract?
believe it's the service contract, and part of that service contract, it allows you to buy, those electronic devices have batteries, the batteries are, purchasing batteries under the service contract is a great savings cost. And so they're ancillary, I guess, would be equipment through the service contract.
No, and that's fine, I'm just questioning because the way the resolution is written, the money would be in the equipment classification. If it's going to be spent in the contractual classification, we should change that.
To the point four, Kathleen?
Yeah.
So
What do you guys think?
so part of this does cover the equipment. We didn't have quite enough for the equipment, and I'm sorry, I don't remember what that amount was. But there is, this is I believe that it is 3 years of contractual, maintenance agreements on them. So there is a part of this that would go for, the maintenance, but part is, we
Equipment.
needed part more for equipment.
And that 3-year service contract, it would be paid all in one lump sum? Or would it be paid in 3 different years?
Right, when I originally talked with you about that, we did have them redo it because, as I remember, that we said that the ARPA would continue for 3 years. So we had them split it into 3 years, of payments. So we won't be paying the, maintenance portion of the whole 3 years in 1 year.
Will not be,
We will not be.
because that affects the amount as well.
Okay, Kathleen, so your thinking is that we should have a breakdown of point two and point four?
Yes, and it sounds like because this is not set up as a capital project, it's an operating amount, it's in the operating budget. So if we're only gonna pay, say the service contract is $30,000 for 3 years, if we're only paying $10,000 in 2023, then we should only be putting 10,000 in the budget, not 30.
I think if you look at that, we did put it in remember that's the one you and I talked about, and we did put it in the resolution module, so it should be there if
The
you-
backup should be there, yeah.
Right.
Okay. Let's
Okay,
see.
Bonnie, let me ask you, is there any urgency to this resolution here? I mean, if you had to discuss this with the budget folks and break it down to the point two and point four,
And bring it back.
okay, and bring it back next month with
We
that.
certainly can.
Kathleen, what are your thoughts?
I think that would be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, because, if we have,
You need more of a breakdown for the point four.
and just the timing. And as Bonnie said, I know that she and I we did talk about this, but, obviously, we maybe didn't reach a
Talk
decision.
little bit more.
Yeah, we maybe need to talk about it a little bit more.
Yes.
No, that's okay.
You just do it for audit control?
I mean, but,
We could just have this either table or withdrawn, and then if you can get the figures ready by tomorrow morning, Bonnie, you and Kathleen, we could. I'm on audit and control, Mark, you are, no, okay. Well, we could take it up tomorrow.
But we are more than fine, Mr. Chairman, with bringing this to next month. It is not something that needs to be done
Kathleen,
for
are you okay
payment,
with
so,
that?
Yeah, either option is fine with me.
Okay.
okay.
You guys wanna come back next month on this?
We would like
All
to,
right, so
please.
you wanna just withdraw this one?
We do, please.
All right, no action at this time on this, resolution? Okay,
Terry, I had a question though.
yeah, go ahead, Bob. Wherever.
When we, and this is for Noel, when we buy this stuff, this equipment and stuff, do they come out and do like a seminar to show us on how to properly use all this, the equipment?
This is existing equipment. We were buying additional equipment of stuff we already had to outfit other vehicles, so it wasn't anything new. If we were buying something new, that would be an option, but this is new equipment of the same type that we already had getting integrated in our system to outfit the other vehicles that did not have it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right, so we're gonna withdraw this, you guys are gonna come back next month.
Yes, thank you.
All right, at this time, I think what we'll do is, because we don't wanna hold up the district attorney's folks, they have an emergency resolution. I think we're gonna take them next and then have you guys come back for the two discussions. All right, we do have, is this an emergency resolution or for the district attorney? Late resolution, all right.
There's a copy on your desk.
There is, but we'll have a motion to take this out of order, or just go ahead and have it come up?
Just to bring it up under
Okay.
other.
All right. Okay, Jason, Matt, if you guys wanna come down? All right, we have a late resolution, and this is for setting the salary for Discovery Expediter? Okay.
Never heard of it, did you?
No, this must be something new. I hope it's good.
I think it is.
All right. Go ahead. Introduce yourself, Jason, to the
Yeah, sure.
thousands of people at home and whatever.
For the record, Jason Schmidt, District Attorney, and this is Madison Contiguglia. Is that okay?
Madeline.
Madeline.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We just call her Maddie.
Maddie, that's all right. So, we've come before you, and we've spoken to you already about the changes in the discovery laws that took effect January 1st, 2020. In response to those changes, we are attempting here to restructure the office by taking an existing open position, that of the legal secretary, and converting that to what now has a civil service title of a discovery expediter. What's underlying all of this is an issue that we've encountered over the last 2 years, and it's this, it's that we're responsible ultimately for gathering from all the police agencies various discovery materials associated with every criminal prosecution that we have. And we prosecute thousands of those. A significant portion of those discovery materials consists of body cam and dash cam footage that the police officers develop during the course of their shifts. Right now, each individual police agency assigns the task of downloading and then uploading to us that data to their evidence custodians, but they're frankly overwhelmed, and as a result, we've encountered so many situations where we encounter body cam footage that has not been provided to us, or we're going, it's becoming more of a protracted process than it should be. Where that trickles down to is that when we're attempting to prosecute cases, discovery materials are slipping through the cracks. So what we want to do is create a position that will liaison with the individual police agencies so that we can assist them in that process, because no matter who's responsible for it, under the new laws that were enacted by Albany, it's all imputed to the prosecutorial offices that are then bringing those criminal prosecutions. Maddie can talk about the financial effect that has here for the county.
Okay, Jason, before she does, just as far as the scope of this position, so this person would work with police agencies, what about the public defender's office?
Once the public defender's office interacts with this, because once we obtain this information and review it, it's our responsibility to then disclose it to the defense counsel.
And who does this person do that too, or is that somebody different?
It's part of a discovery compliance unit that we've created where we've put the paralegals that you guys have authorized us to hire. We've put
Right.
them in there. So altogether, they are responsible for transmitting that information electronically.
Okay, so the paralegals plus this person or not?
Plus this person.
Okay.
Although
Alright.
this person has specific responsibilities that we want, they require a certain level of expertise in dealing with footage and that type of data.
Okay, all right. Financially, Maddie? Go ahead.
So we have estimated the cost of this position to be about $62,100. We've worked with HR to determine this title will be a CSCA grade 12. And we will be covering the cost of creating this position with one legal secretary that remains vacant. So you authorized us to add a legal secretary position under the Discovery Reform Grant funds from last year, and
We did.
and we are going to be using those funds to cover the cost of this new position. The vacant legal secretary position was budgeted at $63,223, so it does entirely cover the cost of this new Discovery Expediter position.
Okay, Maddie, you're not gonna eliminate that other position, you'll still have it, you just won't fill it.
Correct, yes, and then in the budget for 2024, we will eliminate the vacant legal secretary position and have the Discovery Expediter position, so it will replace the legal secretary.
Next year, for next year's budget.
Yes, for next year's budget. So in this
Okay.
budget, and Kathleen, correct me if I'm wrong, we will have a vacant legal secretary position and a filled Discovery Expediter position, which will offset, the cost will offset each other.
Yes, that's correct. But I do have a question. Yesterday, we talked about whether the legal secretary position was funded with Discovery funds, and yesterday you said it is not.
I was incorrect on the positions.
Okay.
We did fill the non-grant funded position, but we are not filling the grant funded position.
Okay, all right, so,
There's been an evolution in your position since yesterday.
Yes, yes.
and just for the benefit of the committee, what we discussed yesterday, we thought that the legal secretary position was locally funded, and so replacing that position with a grant-funded position would result in a reduction in local share, like more grant revenue. But now it sounds like it's just a pretty much an even swap.
Yes, it should be an even swap. This position is slightly less than the
Yeah.
budgeted position.
Okay, so you, in 2024, your 2024 budget next fall, you're going to eliminate this one position.
Yes.
I'll
And
make a note of
create
that.
the Discovery Expediter position. We will not be increasing the positions, they will remain the same.
We're gonna hold you to that, folks, okay.
I hate to commit to any of this, but I'm with you. I know that
All
we
right,
have
all
to
right.
be careful, mindful.
Well, and Mr. Chairman, I'll add another comment that, I mean, it's relatively common that departments will ask to create a new position and fund it with an existing position. But the situation is, as Malin described, that strictly speaking in the budget, that old position, in this case, the legal secretary position, that position doesn't leave their budget. It's, it's still there, it's just there, but we just have an understanding that it will remain vacant.
Okay, committee, any further questions of Jason or Manny?
Is this person hired, this Discovery Expediter?
No, we have to post the position and interview,
Better not have hired
No.
it before we.
We did not.
As soon as I asked that, I'm like, that was.
That's okay, Art, that's okay.
No, we did not.
I'm just checking.
Because you didn't even know how much you're gonna pay him, so, okay.
Okay, committee, any other questions of Jason or Maddie? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we'll have discussion, property tax exemptions, volunteer firefighters. This will be Noel and Bonnie, and then we also have another discussion after this. Noel, go ahead.
Yeah, so New York State passed a new law, and the best summation I found was basically taken off the New York State tax website. This is the best summation, I'll read that just for the record. Generally speaking, the new law gives municipalities, school districts, and the fire districts throughout the state the option to provide a property tax exemption of up to 10% to volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers. That's volunteer ambulance workers. Any such exemption would be valid only on property used exclusively for residential purposes. If a portion of the volunteer's property is used for other purposes, the exemption would be prorated accordingly. In order to be eligible for this partial exemption, volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers must live in the community served by their volunteer organization and meet a minimum service requirement of between 2 and 5 years as set by the respective taxing jurisdiction. Additionally, at local option, a lifetime exemption may be provided to volunteers with at least 20 years of service as long as they maintain their primary residence in the county they have served. Taxing jurisdictions may also allow unremarried surviving spouses to be eligible for this exemption. This was all made part of Real Property Tax Law, Section 466-A, which is an very exciting read, which, if you would like to have some.
I've got part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just coming out. I'm doing my research into it. What I've heard is many of our communities, our municipalities around the county are very eager to do this to help with the recruitment retention of the firefighters.
Okay. Committee questions with Noel on this?
It's my understanding that Clinton County is already doing this. I don't know if any other New York State
Right,
counties are. and-
so when you dig into the law here, so there are some other municipalities around the state that have been doing such an event. This law, as it put in there, says if they've been doing that now, they now have to codify that into law with a local amendment, making that law to conform with this new state law. And that's spelled out in the 466A section. I'm not aware of any such incentives in our county currently running municipalities. But it puts a lot of responsibility on the individual taxing municipality to set that standard of 2 or 5 year service commitment. It also puts the responsibility on the local authority having jurisdiction for that area to establish what a volunteer firefighter level of activity is. So, it puts some responsibility back on the local entity.
And the goal is to encourage and to kind of recognize our local volunteers.
Correct.
Which,
One of the biggest.
We should.
I've said it before, and I'll continue saying it until it's not a problem. One of the biggest problems that every one of our 42 fire departments, even our career departments, every department in this county is having problems finding and keeping firefighters and EMTs and paramedics.
yeah.
At one point, and I'm not sure this is exactly current, but I know at one point in Chautauqua County, the average age of a fireman was 56 years old. I believe that age is number has probably gone up a little bit. So anything we can do to help encourage, recruitment, retention, is something I'm going to push forward as hard as I can.
Okay, Noel, as far as activity, you're talking about number of calls or training sessions or stuff like that?
And that's where they've put some responsibility on the individual jurisdiction, municipality that's authorizing this to say.
Because that does vary from fire department to fire department.
Correct.
Okay.
Some departments might say, you have to meet 10% of our calls to be considered an active person, or you need to do.
3 training sessions or
Yeah.
5 or whatever.
So they've put that authority into those municipalities to, to try and, the idea is to try and encourage this incentive for the firefighters that are truly active and that are out there at all times, hours, day, night,
Well, as a former volunteer fireman and as former EMT, I did renew once, but I didn't renew too many times. I think this is important. I think this is something that needs to be done. I want to thank our legislative chairman for bringing this to our attention. I mean, perhaps I can get a consensus from public safety, but I'd like to see us move forward with this. Maybe have you talk to the law department and get some more information and stuff.
And I have some
No,
copies
and-
here I can give Patrick just of what I've got, so that
Okay.
you can dial right into it.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, so, committee, if it's all right, we'll have Noel work with the law department and possibly come up with some sort of proposal, because I think the idea is good. That's where we wanna head with, some sort of benefit for volunteer firemen, for the very reasons you mentioned, Noel, recruitment and retainment. That's pretty important.
Yeah.
I
So,
think participation too.
Yeah.
They might be there, but.
It might
not doing
encourage
much.
some people, this might be let's be honest, we all like financial incentive.
Yeah.
So it might encourage some people to increase their activity at their local departments or to join.
Join.
So this is something that, our elected officials can help support the fire service on.
and even if it's not a lot, it's at least a way for us to say, we appreciate what you're doing and thank you.
So what you're saying is you're open to me finding more creative ways for you to help support.
I didn't say that. Let's take one step at a time. Let's look at this
I
first.
figured I'd take a shot at the apple.
That's all right. Okay.
Hey, Noel, I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
In that paperwork that came from the state, do they give any examples as far as number of calls to go to or anything like that, or is it just totally all up to each jurisdiction to make up that number?
So I've got it highlighted in the state law in the real property tax section, 466-A again. It says, "It shall be the duty and responsibility of the governing body of each municipality, school district, and/or fire district which adopts a local law, ordinance, or resolution pursuant to this section to determine the procedures for certification." And that's basically the section saying that those local jurisdictions need to have a policy in place to say what those standards are.
Okay. It's just kind of scary. You put that out there, and somebody else may be more stringent and other ones may be really loosey-goosey, but
A term I like to use, it's very specifically vague.
absolutely. But it's a very encouraging proposal for recruitment and retention for sure.
Well, if Clinton County is doing it, or other counties.
I think Monroe County, and Monroe or Syracuse, one of those more bigger municipal areas, had been doing something like this or just started something like this as well. And this is a good thing the state has done to try and make this a
Right.
statewide incentive.
Well, aren't there federal tax exemptions already and state, and so we're just following in the footsteps of that? I thought President Trump signed
About the
something
only
and,
state state incentive that we currently have is on your income tax.
Right.
You have a $200 credit,
okay,
and that's saved me from having to pay the state a couple years.
yeah. Yeah, anything. I mean, I fully support it, but on the other hand, do we have to look at the impact to the county taxes coming in? Yeah, that's something that, I don't know what that would be. I'm not sure.
And there's
Yeah,
roughly, and I don't know the exact number, but there's always been between 2,000 and 2,500 volunteer firefighters, give or take, any given time,
Yeah.
in Chautauqua County. So my personal belief is while there would be an effect, I can't imagine that much of an effect would have of the overall county budget for what this would do for the firefighters.
No, I think it will be negligible, but in your discussions with
Yeah.
with the law department, maybe you could
And
just
I
check
can get a
with,
very accurate number on that, just to get a current census of the fire service population of the county.
And you can check with the tax department too, and just see what they think.
Is the
Okay.
idea to try to make the same rules for each community, or how? Or
That would
you-
make entirely way too much sense.
Okay, so,
I think that'd be a great goal for the municipalities adopting this.
but
I think it's gonna be tough.
Yeah. You know, each municipality has very different needs. I would think, and I would hope that these municipalities are looking at it and say, you need to be an active firefighter or have been, a lifetime member that's active. Those are the things that are going to need to get looked at and regulated into it.
And did I hear benefits of surviving?
Yes, there's a lot of
Spouse.
paragraph in there.
Remarried spouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a few different paragraphs in there covering that specifically.
Okay.
I'm all for it.
All right, Noel, if you would, continue to pursue this and get back
Absolutely.
to us, next month or whenever.
Yep, as soon as I have some more information on it.
Okay, all right, that's one discussion. You're also going to discuss, certificate of needs
Yep.
for the ambulance service?
Joining me will be Timothy Carlson. He's our senior paramedic.
Okay.
He's a very overworked individual, and I keep throwing more at him, just for the record.
What about Bonnie? Taking a pass on this one?
First of all, I'd like to welcome Mr. Nelson.
Well-
Congratulate him on his new position. So, we're asking for a reaffirmation of support for our certificate of need on our ambulance operations side. In the legislative meeting in September 26th of 2018, Resolution 210-18 was adopted to allow us and endorse us to obtain an ambulance operating certificate. We have been working through that process since 2018 in the step to transfer our municipal CON to a permanent CON at the regional council level. It was blocked. We then have filed an appeal, and we've been working with legal counsel, a law firm that specializes in EMS law. February 7th and 8th, we will have a hearing at the state EMS advisory committee to grant our CON or block it. We are asking for support and a reaffirmation to say that we would, support us in our endeavor to obtain this operating certificate permanently.
Okay, Tim, this is just a continuation of what we already did back in 2018.
Correct.
The legislature.
Correct.
Okay. Committee questions of Noel or Tim on this?
What are you
Where do
asking
you
us to
start?
do? Yeah.
Just support
Yeah,
your,
support us.
your appeal, I guess, right?
Yeah, to
Okay.
support us, and, when we go to the appeal in February 7th and 8th, we've had different local agencies, local municipalities have letters of support submitted. It would be nice to say, perhaps at this meeting, we discussed it with the Public Safety Committee of the legislators, and they reaffirmed their support of us obtaining this certificate of need.
Tim, and for Tom and for other folks' benefit, this certificate of need is pretty important.
It
Can
is.
you maybe just don't take
Right,
a lot
yeah.
of time, but
It's
just
it's
a
it's
few
process.
seconds and
Yeah.
tell us
So,
why it's so important.
a certificate of need is, if you're familiar with taxi medallions in like New York City, it's basically the same thing for ambulances. I have personal opinions on that, but at any rate, the certificate of need defines an operating territory, okay, that you can operate in. You need to have a clear, defined need, which we have, and we have proven through the process of obtaining the CON. The one that we did was a municipal certificate of need that allows you to operate for 2 years and then convert that certificate of need to a permanent operating certificate of need. During the hearing in 2020 for this, we had, at the regional council level, a seriously deficient amount of people there. So we had a majority of the members at the council present vote yes, but it was not a majority of the body. and each person that was not in attendance effectively counted as a no vote. So it's been kind of a topic that has honestly kept me up quite a lot of nights. It's something that I'm very concerned about, and it's necessary for us as an agency and the county to be able to have that operating certificate so that we can flex and do what we need to do to meet the needs 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road, you know, beyond the point of me being here, Noel being here, or anybody else being here. You know, the implications of this far exceed any of us.
Okay, so, Tim, exactly what are you looking for? Would you like a letter of support from this committee, from
Yes.
myself, or
Yeah,
in
if,
support of your position?
if you
And
were
quite
able to do
frankly,
that.
in support of the position that the legislature took, 5 years ago, I guess?
Yes, correct, yeah, 2018. If you would be able to do that, that's something you could do.
And that would help you?
I believe so, yes, to present to the state committee on
Okay.
February 7th and 8th.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Sure.
When we established this CON back in 2018, I believe that it was a prerequisite for us to be able to bill for our fly car.
It was a prerequisite to be able to bill Medicare and Medicaid.
Yes.
Yes.
So if we lose this CON, we will not be able to bill Medicare and Medicaid for our fly car.
Another thing,
Which presents a problem in itself.
Big problem.
Yes.
big,
Thank
But-
you, Pierre, for pointing that out.
with our legal counsel, they produced a brief that they're going to provide to the council during the February meeting. If you guys would like to see that, you know, I can send that to you guys after this. And, you know, if you have more questions, always feel free to reach out to our office and contact me. I can talk to you at length and in depth about this stuff.
Tim has become our office expert on the CON issue, and, you know, he's very, very well versed in the whole process and where we're at.
Tim, I don't need to see any more paperwork.
Sure.
Send it to Tom. He'll read it. He'll read it.
New guy.
The new guy.
The new guy, yeah. All right,
It concerns me.
It was simply procedural
It
that you
was.
got turned down the first time, of that body,
because of the lack of
absent
Yeah.
voters
Part of
counted
it,
as
yeah,
no
and there
vote?
were six,
because of COVID, apparently.
there were six
Probably,
votes,
yeah.
no,
Be nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
This is being
Why not?
recorded,
Yeah.
Tim, so that, yeah, okay.
But you had the overwhelming majority of the people present,
we had a majority of the people present vote
and
in
it's a
favor.
majority.
New York State, under the last budget, did try and amend the laws that, specifically for this issue, it just did not make it through the budget process.
Correct.
New
It's
York State,
again-
New York State wanted to make it easier for municipalities and people that should need to get this. Unfortunately, those laws did not take place, so we're still dealing with the laws in place, and that's where we're at.
It's not the end of the road if it is denied. There are other options that we have that I am confident will be able to get through this. But the best course of action, best case scenario, would be obviously for us to have our appeal granted and
Yeah.
give us the CON so we can continue on with life and continue to serve the county.
And continue with our billing as far as the
Exactly,
fly
right,
car.
that too, yeah.
Okay. All right,
But-
committee, any other, Mark, go ahead.
The CON we have now is not permanent.
For the ambulance side. We have two CONs, two
Okay,
certificate of
okay,
needs. We have one for the fly car side,
Right.
and we have one for the ambulance side. The
This-
reason we did separate, was because we kind of did anticipate some pushback. And we wanted to make sure that we would not jeopardize our entire operation.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't think why we wouldn't support that, I really can't.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, the support of the full legislature would be, instead of just the public safety committee.
Well, I think right now, they're just looking for some sort of support from public safety, but if,
Right.
I mean, we can consider more than that, There's apparently there's a time constraint though, Tim, it's
Correct,
coming up
yeah, it's
relatively
February
quick.
7th and 8th.
Okay,
And we have not received formal notice that this is going to be discussed, but we have received notice from other avenues that this is going to be discussed.
The rumor mill.
Friends, we'll put it that way.
Mr. Chairman, if you'd like to present a motion from the floor at the legislature meeting next Wednesday in support of this, I would certainly, from the chair, entertain that.
Emergency, well, let's see, just a motion?
Just a motion from the
Just a
floor.
motion, okay.
Yep, in support of this.
In the meantime, Pierre, what we could do is, we could get a sense of the committee, and with the approval of the committee, I could work with Tim and Noel on a letter on behalf of public safety,
Yep.
and then also get this motion passed next week.
Doubly good.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thank
Maybe your legal counsel could write a letter or?
Yeah, do that, save me
Sure.
some time. You guys write it.
We,
and
we,
I'll-
we,
I'll-
we may have an example that could help
There you go.
be your wordsmith.
Just have one right
You
here.
may. You may or you shall.
Exactly.
Both,
I'll talk to you guys later. but,
thank you.
Committee, is that all right with you? I'll work with
Absolutely.
these guys and
Yep.
sign
Yep.
a letter in support of
Sure.
this continuation of, or this certificate of need continuation.
Thank you, we appreciate it, and I know that
Okay.
all of the people that work tirelessly, day in and day out for county EMS would appreciate it too.
Tim, we'll do this letter, and then we'll, like Pierre suggested, we'll have the motion next week. So, go ahead, get some sleep. Don't
Thank you.
lose any more sleep.
I'm
over
not
this.
going to get sleep until after February 8th.
All
I
right,
can guarantee you
okay.
that.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask one more?
Yeah,
thing?
absolutely.
Off another discussion. We all know what happened in Buffalo a couple weeks ago, and the TV stations there's been criticism of how they've handled that. Are we prepared for?
Are we prepared for what hit Buffalo? That's a very difficult question to
I
answer.
know.
We're prepared to start. We would rely, as Erie County, Genesee County, Niagara County did, we would rely heavily on all of our partners to help mitigate that situation.
Yeah.
There are some steps I'm taking, internally in our office to make our approach to that more manageable. There's some computer software that we have that we're going to increase use of. We're gonna look at some, increasing some supplies that make sense and not make a knee-jerk reaction to go out and buy. One of the issues that happened up there was people couldn't get food because the stores were out. And so New York State Homeland Security maintains 5 or 6 caches of equipment across the state. In those caches are MREs. MREs are, the military meals ready to eat. Really tasty if you need some. But yeah, if you're hungry enough, they're self-heating, they're appropriate to be able to get. I would not look to say, okay, we need to have a warehouse full of this. That would be a knee-jerk reaction. To have a pallet pre-positioned somewhere in our, that would be more an appropriate response. So there's a couple things I'm looking at to try and scale our response, understanding that we're part of an entire system that would rely on our neighboring mutual aid, the state mutual aid fire system, and the resources of State Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. So I don't want to knee-jerk reaction and say, we need all this stuff. I will have a small reaction and say, I'd like to try and increase this, do this here, and that goes back to that Bearcat issue. That they're really referred to now as a rescue vehicle. It's gonna be perfect for like the Sunset Bay area. If we had to get stubborn residents or stuck residents out of an area when it's flooding, that's the first vehicle that we'd wanna call. So that is a really wise purchase for the sheriff's office and the county as a whole, because that vehicle is gonna have a lot of emergency services support uses, and it's just gonna be a very big community asset. And those are the type of things that go to help making that preparedness record more established.
Okay, thanks, Noel. Bob, anything else? Are you muted?
There you go.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
Very good.
All right, committee, anything else?
No.
All right, motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second?
Second.
Okay, those in favor?
All right.
We're adjourned.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care.